Great Battle for Boys, World War II, Europe, written by Giorello. I have always been curious about world wars. You hear about them all the time, Nazis and Jews, but for a long while I didn't really understand what any of it meant. Who exactly were they? What happened? How did it all begin? And how did it end? Back then, my understanding was quite vague. At school, I never properly got to grips with it. This book, however, explained things far more clearly than any classroom lesson I had. It's engaging without feeling heavy, and it doesn't read like a typical history book. Every time I pick up a book from the series, I know I'm in for a good read. There are, in fact, 10 books in the series. The series covers a range of topics, including world wars, the American Revolution, and even ancient and medieval age history, along with conflicts like Korean and Vietnam wars and various naval battles. This book, this particular book was published in 2014. It currently holds a rating of 4.53 on Goodreads and the author is Joe Giorello. One thing I have come to believe is that a good teacher can make even the dullest subject interesting. And in a way, that's exactly what this book does. At the end of each chapter, which focuses on a specific battle, there's a list of recommended books, along with YouTube videos, films on the same topic. What's helpful is that these suggestions follow a similar style, easy to read, quite visible, and straight to the point, so you are never left wondering what to explore next. As for what I have taken away from the book, for the first time I feel like I can actually connect the dots. I recognize important names, understand their roles, and see why they are mentioned when people talk about the Second World War. It also gave me a clearer idea of how propaganda works in wartime. You realize it can be a it can be just as powerful as weapons, shaping how people think and react. There were also some surprising inventive tools mentioned in the book, which were used in the war. Things like exploding rats, buttons that doubled as compasses, and even pipes that could be turned into guns. It's quite remarkable, really. Another thing I appreciate was the inclusion of short accounts of individuals, men and women, connected to each battle. For instance, during the North African campaign, I read about someone who was among Hitler's closest advisors, yet refused to harm Jewish soldiers or civilians. He treated prisoners with dignity, even going so far as to reduce his own troops' water supply to provide for them. He was respected not just by his own side but by his enemies as well. His name was General Erwin Rommel. Looking back, the book leaves you thinking. Each battle comes with its share of casualties, killed, wounded, or captured, and the figures are represented quite plainly. But what really stands out is how, during war, human lives are reduced to numbers. Often they are rounded off into statistics, which make it all feel strangely distant. If there's a lesson in it, I'd say it's this. We should be careful about who we allow into position of authority, whether it's something small like a workplace or something as large as a country. Leadership matters. It all begins at the ground level with everyday choices. When people start accepting indifference or lack of care as normal, it creates a space for the wrong kind of leadership to take hold. You see it in school, offices, anywhere really. When authority is handed to those who simply want control rather than responsibility, the consequences can be serious. During the Second World War, the decisions of a few individuals led to the loss of millions of lives. It does make you wonder if things had been different, how many lives might have been saved instead. Personally, I think a good leader should be someone who doesn't rely on conflict to remain in power. Someone who takes responsibility not just for people but for wider world as well. That includes environment, air, water and land. As for the book itself, it's quite fast paced with a few slower moments here and there but nothing that lasts too long. In many ways, I found it more effective than watching videos or films on the subject. Reading allows you to take things in at your own pace. It stays with you, there's a certain depth to it, as though the ideas settle in more firmly than they do with other forms of media. Reading is always more than what my eyes can see.